Tears of the Kingdom released to much fanfare earlier this year. However, while the story started and ended pretty well, there were some major plot holes in the game, and today I want to take a closer look at them. So this includes the lack of the ancient hero, what happened to the Sheikah technology, plus also many more as we dive into the 10 major plot holes in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Without further delay, let's dive right in, and first of all we've got the link between Calamity Ganon and Ganondorf. So given Princess Zelda travelled back to the past, she should have spoken to Rauru about Calamity Ganon in the future. Zelda doesn't seem to draw a direct line between Ganondorf and Calamity Ganon, which is strange given her role in the final battle at the end of Breath of the Wild. She could have warned Rauru and Sonia back in the past and saved us a whole load of trouble. Well, next up, we've got the lack of a reveal of an ancient hero. So, in Breath of the Wild, it was teased we'd have an ancient hero in the past. Much of the theory crafting between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom was focused on this mysterious character from the tapestries, only for Nintendo to keep fans dangling and not tie up this loose end. So we do have an ancient hero armor set in the game, but even better than this would have been the ancient hero in a cutscene in the past, given Zelda teleports there and spends much of the game filling us in the story from the ancient past. The ancient hero is featured heavily in the tapestries and the storytelling in Breath of the Wild, and it made a whole load of sense to flesh out this character, given Calamity Ganon and the princess were also featured in that tapestry. Well, next up, we've got the lack of divine beasts. So the divine beasts played a major part in Breath of the Wild, and they were buried Sheikah tech that would be taken over by Calamity Ganon and used against the royal family in Hyrule. Link would go on to explore each one as a dungeon before turning their power against Calamity Ganon in the final battle, but what happened to the divine beasts once they performed their duty against Calamity Ganon? Where did they go? It would have been really good in Tears of the Kingdom to explain what happened, and this is much of the same of all the Sheikah tech, to be honest. That's just not part of this story. While to a certain extent this is fine, but given this is a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, some kind of explanation would have been welcome. Well, hot on the heels of that one, we've got the Sheikah technology itself. So Sheikah technology was one of the defining factors in Breath of the Wild, and while many games in Zelda's past, they're pure fantasy, you got swords, shields, knights, princesses and dragons, Sheikah technology introduced the idea of science into the world, and to be honest, it was one of the best additions to the game. Zonai technology essentially comes in and replaces Sheikah technology, but we didn't really get an explanation for the disappearance of the Sheikah tech. And Nintendo devs have commented on this, with Hidemaru Fubiashi saying, "They disappeared after the Calamity was defeated. All of the people of Hyrule also witnessed this, but there's no one who knows the mechanism or reason as to why they disappeared, and it is considered a mystery. It's believed that since the Calamity disappeared, they also disappeared as their role had been fulfilled." Well, to be honest, Nintendo, that is a rather poor explanation, and it's also outside the game, and many fans aren't even going to see that. Once again, it would have been good to have an in-game explanation, and to be honest, a much better one too. Well, next up we've got Rauru and Ganondorf. So Ganondorf kills Sonia, and Rauru is absolutely devastated. However, Zelda warned Rauru that this was going to happen. She had her suspicions that Ganondorf was an evil man, yet Rauru let him go free. Even Rauru said he knew something was wrong, knew there was something up with Ganondorf, and he suggested he wanted to keep his enemies close. Well, that totally backfired, given he ended up murdering his wife. Now, he should have taken more decisive action much earlier. Well, next up we've got the mysterious time gap. So a certain amount of time has passed between Breath of the Wild ending and Tears of the Kingdom beginning, but exactly how much time is not very clear. You've got the age difference of some of the characters. You guess it was roughly 5 years or so between games, however, the details just aren't consistent. You've got some residents of Tarrytown, they've got children, they're too old to be born since the end of Breath of the Wild. Plus, when you compare Tulin's age now compared to the first game, all of these details just don't seem to add up. Well, next up we've got Ganondorf's Secret Stone, so perhaps one good thing to do when Ganondorf was frozen in stasis after the battle with Rauru, would have been to remove his very, very powerful secret stone. This falls off when Link and Zelda discover Ganondorf early on in the game, with Princess Zelda picking it up and teleporting back to the past. In the past, when the battle first took place, wouldn't it have made sense for the sages to pick out the secret stone to prevent the mummified Ganondorf causing more harm in the future? Well, I guess none of the sages even thought of it. Well, next up we've got a very fragile Master Sword. Well, this plot hole happens very early in the game and is related to one of the most powerful weapons in the game in the series history, and that is the all-powerful Master Sword. This is supposed to be the legendary blade to help protect Zelda and Hyrule from evil, yet it melts at the first sign of Ganondorf casting some magic on it. Now, it's withstood more with this in the past, but Ganondorf appears to be able to melt the Master Sword with a single blast of gloom or his own dark magic. Now, while this is a story vehicle to allow the Master Sword to travel back through time and arrive at Princess Zelda in the past, and then it gets powered up over thousands of years by a very, very patient Princess Zelda. It's still a little bit jarring to see the Master Sword melt like that at the first sign of trouble when Ganondorf looks at it. Well, next up we've got Remember Breath of the Wild. Well, while many characters, namely the sages, recognise Link and refer to Link's history in Breath of the Wild, many other characters in Tears of the Kingdom don't. You would have thought that after everything Link did in Breath of the Wild, he'd be famous all throughout Hyrule. He even lived with Princess Zelda. Why does he have to go around and explain to anyone who he is? He'd be an absolute living legend. Tears of the Kingdom was billed as a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, a rare instance of a sequel in the Legend of Zelda series, but many of the characters just don't acknowledge the events of Breath of the Wild at all. They've forgotten all about the Sheikah tech, the Divine Beast, Calamity Ganon, and seemingly about Link as well. Well, finally then, we've got Link's arm. So at the start of the game, Rauru said Link's arm was too damaged and he had to have it replaced with his own arm. However, at the end of the game, Link's arm is restored somehow. Why did Rauru say at the start of the game that Link's arm was beyond fixing? Did they restore his original arm? And if so, where did they keep it all throughout the game? Or did Link even regenerate his own arm like a crab? Who knows what's going on with Link's arm? Well, let me know in the comments what you think about the story in Tears of the Kingdom, and let me know your major plot holes. I'd love to hear what you think. But that is it for this look at 10 major plot holes in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and as always, thank you so much for watching or for listening. Well, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, would really, really help me out. And also you can hit that like button too, and you can share the video if you really want to. That would really help us out here on the channel. Well, thanks again, and I will see you very soon.